Okay, Module 5. We're going to look at the WordPress dashboard in a little bit more detail. We're going to look at plugins in a little bit more detail and themes. And we'll actually go ahead and install a theme. We're going to install the theme that I use to develop the majority of the websites that I build. It's one that I found to be incredibly powerful, very well supported, and I haven't really found anything that I can't do with it yet. Themes vary. Basically, themes vary in their quality, and they vary in terms of how constrained you are in terms of using them. So if you want to go on and build commercial grade websites whereby the designs are likely to be very different one to the other, but you want a single tool to be able to build all of those sites, then the theme that I'm going to suggest you look at is a very good one to start off with. You can go to, let's have a look at where I get a lot of my themes. There's a site called Theme Forest. If you have a look at themeforest.net and you do a filter on WordPress, then you will see all of the thousands of themes that are available for WordPress. So let's have a look. You can break them down. Blog magazine, for instance, WordPress blog and magazine themes. If you filter on that category, you'll then come across all sorts of themes that you can have a look at, see if you like the styling of them, see if they're going to be good for the project that you're working on. And it may be that they will be. You can buy the theme, install it, as I'll show you how to do so in a second, you may well be able to build a really nice looking site using those themes. I found that the theme that I use is a theme called Avada. Oh dear, it doesn't exist. That's because I'm filtered on the category for blog and magazine, and it doesn't really come under that. So let's do a search for Avada as a more global search. Whoops, Avada, there we go. Okay, so there it is. This is the theme that I'm going to install and show you how to use throughout the rest of this course, really. So it's an incredibly popular theme on Theme Forest. You can see via the rating and the number of downloads that it's an incredibly popular theme. Have a look. I'm not gonna. It's outside the scope of this course really to go into too much detail about how Theme Forest works, but there are countless other sites where you can buy themes, for instance, and there are also countless free themes. That's something I'll cover in just a second, and it may be that you can find a theme that you don't have to buy that will suit the purposes of your particular project. Okay, so let's go back to your perfectname.co.uk temporary website that we're in the throes of building. First of all, I just want to run through the WordPress dashboard. So let's assume we've just logged in, and this is what we would be presented with. Now, this initial page just gives us some initial bits of information about WordPress. I pretty much move away from this page straight away. I don't really do anything on the dashboard itself on this, at least this opening page. You'll see in the left-hand side we've got the standard WordPress navigation. Now, when I install the new theme Avada that we're going to be looking at, you'll notice that there's a lot more navigation appears in the left-hand side. As soon as I install and activate the theme, that will all become active. And also whenever I activate a plugin, there may be an additional navigation button that gets inserted here somewhere as part of the plugin. They usually relate to some sort of configuration options that are related to that plugin, or in the case of the theme, they're configuration options relating to the theme or some functionality that the theme offers in addition to the standard WordPress functionality. Okay, so first of all, let's have a look at appearance and themes. So if we go to appearance and themes, we've seen this before. Whoops, clicked a wrong button. These are the three themes that are installed by WordPress as part of the installation. These are developed by the WordPress developers themselves, and they're just standard default themes that are often used by developers actually to go on and develop other themes. So they use these as the core bits of code that they then go on and develop other themes. Now you'll notice here that we've got an option to add a new theme. If I click on that, it then opens another screen whereby I can either search for free themes that are available to me that have been not really that well tested by WordPress, I would say, but they're at least past some sort of criteria. They pass through some sort of filter to make sure that they're not full of security bugs, etc., etc. But nevertheless, bear in mind that these are free themes. They have limited functionality. They may well suit the project that you're working on, so by all means have a look at them. But I would always advocate using one of the premium themes that has more functionality, and in particular, if you really want a head start on web development, then just use Avada, because there's not much wrong with it, and you can create some really beautiful sites with it, and it will enable you to get to a point in your web development career that would otherwise perhaps take quite a long time to get to if you go through the process of using some of these other themes. Okay, so how do we install a theme? There are two ways of doing it. Basically, you can click this button here, upload a theme, browse either to your somewhere on your hard disk or somewhere else on the web where you've got the theme installed, and that would be a zip file format. The other way of doing it is to basically just use FTP and copy across the theme to the folder, which is the way I'm going to do it now. So I'm going to navigate through FTP, and I'm going to go to the themes folder within the WP content folder. We see the three that are already installed, and then I'm going to navigate back through my folder structure on my local machine to my web development folder, my themes, and then we see we've got Avada 571. I think there's actually a 572 now, because obviously the themes get updated all the time. But I'm just going to copy that whole folder across there. Now, there is the option, and you may well want to look at this, of installing a child theme. Child themes used to be used in the past a lot, because if you wanted to make any changes to the functionality of a theme or make any changes to some of the styling of the theme, then you were encouraged to do it in a child theme. The reason being is then when the core theme itself was updated, it would not overwrite any of the changes that you've made. Now, with Avada, I've found that there isn't really any need to use a child theme, because it's so powerful anyway. It's highly unlikely that you're going to need to make any changes in a child theme in order to that would otherwise be overwritten when the core theme gets updated. So I find that although I'm still using child themes on a lot of my sites, I think it's outside the scope of this particular part of the course to teach you how to use child themes, when in fact they're really not that necessary. So I would suggest just at least initially just carrying on, put Avada on the site, install Avada in its own folder, and you won't have any need to use any child theme. So that's just copying across now, and the reason I've done this via FTP rather than uploading the zip file is because when you upload the zip file, you then subsequently can't change the folder name unless you go back into FTP and then change the folder name. I like to change the folder name, and I like to call the folder that the theme is located in, give it the same name as the website itself, because then if anyone does actually go in and look at the code, they don't see the theme name necessarily, and it just looks a little bit more professional. So really that's the only reason that I FTP across, because I know that as soon as it's copied across, I can then very easily just change the folder name before I activate the theme. So the folder structure within my WordPress installation is the way that I prefer it to be. So I'm going to change that folder name as soon as it's copied over to be your perfect name. So I'm just going to copy that out, save me typing. Okay, so that's now almost copied over. Just waiting for that to complete. I should get excuse me, I should get an indication as soon as that's completed. Okay, still waiting, still waiting. Right, again, this is obviously going to depend on your internet speed as to how long this takes, but there we go. So that's all across now. Now that's actually quite a lot of code just moved across there, so I'm not sure exactly how big Avada is, but if I expand it, it contains a lot of other files and a lot of subfolders within there. So that's now all copied across onto my server. So what I'm now going to do before I activate it is just rename it to, whoops, to the name of the site itself. Now you can make it any name you like, but what you mustn't do is activate the theme and then rename the folder. First of all, rename the folder, then you can activate the theme, and everything will be in the right place. So now if we go back to themes from the WordPress dashboard, we can see that we've still got the 3 that we had installed by default, but we've also got one called Avada. And as soon as I activate this now, then this front end is going to look very different. Before I do activate the Avada theme, incidentally, remember we've got 2017 listed at the moment. Let's just change to 2015. I'm going to activate 2015 instead of 2017. So in order to do that, all I have to do is click Activate. Okay, so now 2015 has become the active theme. If I now go back to the front end and refresh, you should see everything change as soon as it's loaded. Okay, so there we go. So now the site looks very different. The content hasn't changed. All I've done is activated a different theme. So this demonstrates very well that the design layer and the content layer within WordPress is separate. That's because if you remember way back to one of the earlier modules, I mentioned that the content is held in the database. Now the design is made up of some of the files that are contained in the theme folder itself. So some of these files drive some of the content, but also something called cascading style sheet is driving the styling as well. So cascading style sheets would control the typeface, the size of the type, the background colors on the pages, etc., etc. So that's why you can switch from one theme to another and it will not affect your content. Now, there is a caveat there, because one theme uses certain methods of presentation, another theme might use a different method. So if you do switch from one theme to another, there is some functionality that may be lost. So you've got to be very careful in doing that. My advice to you is to avoid doing that, although if you're using some of the very basic themes like 2015, 2016 or 17, then the chances are pretty much all of your content will be retained. It may just not all be visible in the same place, that's all. So whenever you can, just try and stick to one theme. Choose a theme that you're going to use, install it, activate it, build your site with it, and then don't change the theme afterwards. Okay, so let's activate the Avada theme now, and then you're going to see some additional components appear in the left-hand side. There we go. I've activated the theme. As soon as it refreshes, you will see those additional components come to life. Okay, so here we go. We've got Avada now listed at the top. We've now got separate navigation for Avada. We've got something that's indicating that there's an update required, which is the red dot, if you remember. If I just click on that, it's going to tell me that there's a patch available. This is a feature that is in some themes but not all, so don't expect to see this in every single theme. But it's saying that this patch is fixing some problem with WooCommerce. So we can just apply that patch at some point in the future. I won't do it now, but that's just indicating that there is a software update available. We've also got another notification box up here saying begin updating plugins. Now if you remember, I've already copied across, if we go back to the plugin folder, I've already copied across all of the plugins that I like to use on a new installation. Now that includes 2 plugins that are specific to Avada. They come with Avada, they are part of Avada, and they don't come with any other theme, although I have a feeling some other themes are being developed and using these, the Fusion Builder and Fusion Core now. So we'll go on to see what those particular plugins do later on. But for now, what it's saying to me is that I need to update some of these plugins. So let's go to, let's click on Begin Updating Plugins. Now what that's going to do is it's going to go to another page and it's going to show me which plugins are requiring an update. Now if you see that it says here premium plugins can only be installed and updated with a valid token. Now this is an attempt by Theme Fusion, the developer of Avada, to ensure that people are buying a license for using their theme. And it's important that you do buy a license to use the Avada theme, because obviously that supports the development of it. It enables updates to be released, and it means that your theme and therefore your business, if you like, because it requires these themes to operate as if you're a web developer, then everything gets updated, and you know, as new features come on, and you can access them. So it's very good. It's a very good idea to buy the themes. Obviously, you've got to buy one in the first place anyway, but try and buy one for each installation. So I'm just going to grab one of my registration keys here, and just put that registration in, because without that registration, you cannot actually update the theme. And you cannot update any of the plugins within it either. Okay, so now I've just put that registration in. I'm now going to activate Fusion Core and Fusion Builder, and that will then get rid of that message that we're seeing as part of the setup. So let's activate Fusion Core. And activate Fusion Builder. Now I could have activated those via the plugins link here, but this is always what you see when you initially set up Avada. So you know, it tends to be the case that I do it here. Now because I put that registration key in, it's also saying that there's an update available, and because I've installed the registration key, I'm able to run the update. So I'm going to update Fusion Core, and that will just go away and do some code updates, and then it's going to refresh the page. There we go, and I then click on Return to Required Plugins Installer. And then I can update Fusion Builder as well. Now while that's updating, you'll notice that the Fusion Patcher has now gone from 1 to 2. That means as a result of updating the plugins Fusion Core, another patch has become necessary, because obviously it's a patch relating to Fusion Core plugin rather than anything else. So okay, so that's completed as well. So now let's go to the Fusion Patcher. And we can apply that patch. Now it looks like one of the other patches was already applied as a result, probably of updating the Fusion Core plugin. Okay, so that's now eliminated the numbers next to Fusion Patcher, but you can see we've still got numbers next to plugins themselves. So let's now go to plugins, and it's showing that I've got updates for various plugins that I've got installed. Now this is the list of all the plugins that I've got installed, but you notice I've got the option here to click on Update Available, and that will then just show me all of the plugins that need to be updated. And I can update these all in one go. I can either just click each one individually, or I can click the box next to plugin, which then ticks all of them. I can then use the drop-down list and choose Update, and then apply. And what that will do is it will go through and update every single one of those plugins that is selected, and hopefully will then be good to go. Now you'll notice that none of these plugins are actually activated. I have only activated 2 plugins so far, and they were Fusion Core and Fusion Builder as part of the initial setup of Avada itself. Let me just wait for these other plugins to update. What I'll do is, as we go through the site build module, I'll activate the plugins that I use as part of that build process as and when we need them. I will actually just activate one plugin now, and that's going to be Contact Form 7, because I want you to see that the navigation on the left hand side here is building more and more. It's getting more and more extensive as we add things to the installation. So if I now just activate Contact Form 7, you'll notice again another thing just popped in here, Contact Form. Okay, so that's because I activated that Contact Form 7. Now if I now deactivate Contact Form 7, that will then cause that to disappear. And if I delete Contact Form 7 altogether, then it's no longer there, obviously. I've done that because I just want to show you another way of installing a plugin while I'm here. Remember, we installed the plugins using FTP. I actually just copied them from my standard installation, which I've got on my computer here. So these are all the core plugins that I've used, and I just copied them across. There is another way of adding plugins. You can just go to Plugins and click Add New. You will then get the option to upload a plugin, again in a similar way to uploading a theme. If you click on Upload Plugin, it will encourage you to browse and find a zip file that contains the plugin. The alternative is to do a search for a plugin. There are literally thousands of plugins out there that do all sorts of things. If there's something that you want to do on a website, chances are that there's been a plugin developed for it. Now, plugins, a bit like themes, there's good ones, there's bad ones, there's free ones, there's ones you pay for. There are ones that you can get for free and you're encouraged to donate to. There are others that you get a certain amount of functionality for free, and then when you pay them you get the full pro version, as it were. So have a look around at the plugins. I very rarely use additional plugins plugins beyond my core set of plugins. I have very few sites that run any other plugins. The only one being perhaps e-commerce sites would run something called WooCommerce, and I have some sites that show events, so I might be using an event plugin. But I'm now just going to put Contact Form 7 back. So I'm going to do a search for Contact Form 7 because it's one of the free plugins, and there it is. So if I now just click Install Contact Form 7, it will then put Contact Form 7 back into the folder hierarchy. So, well, I didn't actually, if I refresh it now, it's too late because I've installed it now, so there it is, it's still there. But it's not active, so having installed it, I can now just activate it from this point. And then we'll see that the navigation for the contact button gets put back in. Okay, so that's pretty much the initial setup of Avada. We're going to go on and look at the options available in Avada. Each theme has its own theme options, so it may not be at the top. Sometimes it might be down the bottom, or even in the middle, or sometimes it might be in appearance. But generally speaking, when you install a theme, there's usually a theme options navigation button that allows you to go in and change all sorts of styling, and you can see that the options available in Avada are quite extensive. We can change the colors, the header, the menu, the logo, page title bars, and so on. We're going to go on as we build a site. We're going to go on and look at all of these things in more detail. But let's now just have a look at the front end. Remember, this was using the 2015 theme, I think it was. If I now just refresh that, it's going to look completely different. And that's because the theme is driving the look of the site. it still looks pretty nasty at the moment, because that's how it looks out of the box. We haven't developed a site yet. We've just installed what I would call the toolbox rather than a theme. We've installed a toolbox which is subsequently going to allow us to go on and build a really beautiful site. It's going to be a fairly simple site to start with. The first site build module is just going to cover a fairly basic site, and then in a module subsequent to that, I'll go on and layer more advanced details on top of it to show you how you can really start to get your sites looking great. Okay, that's it for this module.